Hi folks, and welcome back to another fly tying tutorial. The fly you see in the vise is a slight variation on the famous loch style pattern, the goat's toe. So without further ado, let's get into it. The hook in the vise is a Hanak H200 barbless hook. This one's at size 10, it's on a heavy wire and it's finished in black nickel. The thread I'm going to use to tie this fly is nano silk. It's from Semperfi at 6/0. As you can see, it's black. Now, as always, the black nickel hooks and the nano silks don't really marry up well, and I like to get a little spot of super glue onto the shank of the hook before we start. This just helps the nano silk adhere to the shank properly. So we'll start in just behind the head here, and we'll run a bed of thread down the shank till we get approximately just slightly past where a barb would be if this hook was barbed. It's been that long since I've used barb hooks actually. I can barely remember where the barb is, but there we go. Now, the tail of this fly originally was red wool, and I don't have any red wool. What I have got is some of this stuff, and it's like a floss that I've found in the back of my salmon fly collection, bits and bobs, so I'm going to use this. Now, the tail on this is going to be quite long, so I'll trim it as I see fit, but I'm just going to get a couple of wraps onto the wool, and then I'll take away the part I don't want at the front here before coming up and trapping that into place, keeping the wool right on top of the fly. Now, this floss that I'm using for the tail here, it does need a little pulling out, I think, just to get it to sit right. Now, I don't want this taper, I want it to have a flat finish, so I'll just trim that, and that looks just about right. Now, the next thing I'm going to do that's slightly different from the original pattern. So in the original goat's toe, the bull would have been tied in at the butt, but both ends would have been kept, and this would form your rib. It would have been twisted up and brought over the body of the fly. But I'm going to use some, this is from TicToc. It's red hollow, and it's like a holographic tinsel, if you like. Well, it's not like, it is a holographic tinsel. So I'll lay that onto the shank of the hook, and then I'll just capture that in on my side. Now, the goat's toe is a traditional Scottish loch style pattern, and it's been messed with over the years. There's a chartreuse version. People use all different kinds of things to tie it now, but I'm going to try and stick loosely to the original tying. So the next thing I'm going to use is some Trout Line Select Peacock herring, and I've already taken 2 strips out of the packet, and what I've done is I've laid them end to end, so I've got the thin end meeting the thicker end, and the idea of that is it'll keep the body nice and even. So I'll bring my thread up, going to catch that in place, and try and keep your 2 peacock herrings together, and bring it all the way to the back. I'm just going to move so I can see, and then that looks good. I'll bring my thread back up to the top. Now, I've been doing a lot of research into the more traditional type flies, because I'm going to Orkney next year, and I'm tying up a box of flies for that purpose. And the goat's toe is one of them flies that's ideal for brown trout and sea trout, and I think it'll probably work well for me in Orkney. Now, I'm just going to come back. Not happy with the way that's sitting, and I can see I've already tried to get that round the point of the hook, which is not good. So just come back. Remember, there's no race in fly tying. You can take as much time as you like, and if you're not happy, you're better off coming back and starting it again. Because if you're not confident in the fly when you've finished it, it's very unlikely that you are going to tie it onto your cast for fishing. So it's better to get it right at this stage and take your time. Of course, if you're a commercial tyer, you're probably rattling these out and just throwing them into a pile of flies. And I respect that, it's your living, but these are for my own use and I like them to look just so. So I've caught that in and I'm going to bring my thread over the peacock herring 2 or 3 times. Then I'm going to slick everything back, get 2 or 3 turns to lock it into place, and if I was in a confident mood I would have just pulled these away, but I'm not feeling too confident, so we'll just use the scissors and trim that up. So you want to try and get peacock herring that's got nice long fibres, so you can get some of that movement. Now, the trouble with the holographic is that it is delicate, and if you don't do something to protect it, then the first fish you catch, it's likely to snap. So what I like to do is just the smallest amount of super glue on the inside of the holographic. I do this with my dial backs as well when I'm doing holographic dial backs. It doesn't take much. Make sure, and I've done this, that when you wrap it, that it is the super glue side that is going down onto the peacock herring and not the side when you pick it up. You don't want the fly stuck to your hand, or worse than that, your hackle, which we're coming on to shortly, stuck to the body of the fly. So I brought that round, a couple of turns to hold that into place, a couple of turns in front to lock it in, and then I can take away this part. So it's a fairly simple fly so far. You know, you should be able to follow along. Now the tricky bit comes, of course, with the peacock blue neck feathers we're going to use now. Unfortunately, I've got very few of these left. These are from Trout line, and the feather comes like this. And what you've got to do is clean all the rubbish off it until you end up with something akin to this. Saved a bit of time. It's worth taking your time over that just to get it right. So try and find the most vibrant coloured neck feathers as you can, and you get the Christmas tree effect like you would with a normal hackling. What I want to do before I tie this in, I'm going to just trim a little bit the tip away, and then I can come in with my thread and carefully catch that in at the tip. Now the next thing then is to bring our hackling round. You want these long fibres, it cloaks the whole fly. If you can think back to the fly you've seen in the vise, I'm going to bring that around. Now once I've got it on top like I have here, I'm going to use my thumb and forefinger just to slick back those beautifully marked feathers. It makes an absolutely stunning hackle, this. Now the problem with it, of course, is it is very delicate and it's hard to get good quality, is what I've found in the past. And I can already see, now forgive my fingers at the moment, but what's happening is the stem is breaking in my hackle pliers, and it's just done it again. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring my thread, just for safety, I don't want that really thick bit of the stem, So I've managed to get my thread through the hackle there, and I'll show you in a second once I've secured my position, so to speak. So I've got that trapped in, but as you can see here, the stem of this is really thick, and you don't want that getting caught in the head of your fly. So I'm going to hold that up out the way so I can see it, pray I've not caught my thread, and snip. So I did manage to catch a few of the feathers there, but that's par for the course, to be honest. And that's looking not too shabby. So what I want to do now is build a nice neat head, like so. And then I can get my whip finish tool and grab this into place. Now this is a fly that would be best fished as part of a team of flies. And you can see you're going to get fantastic movement with these feathers. It does look really nice. It's a nice fly to tie, and it's an effective fly for targeting them wild brown trout. So to finish off then, I'm going to use some Solaris bone dry resin. You might want to use normal varnish, or you could even use super glue to finish the head. But I like the way the resin finishes this. It leaves it a nice shiny head, whereas super glue can be a bit dull. Now you might have noticed that I've left a fair old amount of resin in the eye of the hook there. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a feather I've got lying around my bench. I'll turn the hook upside down, and I'll just grab the feather through the eye. Just make sure I've cleaned everything away before coming in with my UV pen. I'm not quite sure actually whether a 4-fly cast is appropriate for fishing flies up in Orkney, or maybe just limit it to 3 flies. I'm sure somebody in the know will let me know in the comment section below. But great fun to tie. I'm really enjoying tying these wet flies. They're just very therapeutic, and you feel like you're tying a proper fly, unlike when you're doing the stuff for the put and take fisheries. There we go, my version of the goat's toe. I hope you enjoyed that, folks, and I'll see you in the next one.